Hi everyone, and welcome back to my psychology classes on the cognitive approach to psychology. My name is Polly Meadows. So today we'll be looking at the working memory model. So previous to this, we've looked at the multi-store model of memory, and now we're going to look at the working model of memory. So this is just a kind of alternate theory, really. And the thing to understand about the WSM is that it's a building on the multi-store model. So it's kind of just looking at one specific part of it and zooming into that. And really it focuses on looking at short-term memory and including the components of how this acts together. So the researchers who decided, Baddeley and Hitch in 1974, so the multi-store model was 68, so this was not that many years after, they decided that it was too limited, and they wanted to kind of go a little deeper and develop their understanding a little bit further. So the model consists of 4 components. Now, like in all psychology, remembering these components is one of the challenges for all students. But the words are really cool. So we have the central executive function, we have the phonological loop, the episodic buffer, and the visuospatial sketchpad. So they are kind of the key components of this theory of how the memory works. So the visuospatial sketchpad is, the idea is that it's kind of like an eye. The function of it is to hold visual and spatial information. So in the same way as, we talked about the store in the multi-store model, the beginning part, this is like the visual sketchpad. It's the start of the process, if you like. And then we have the phonological loop. So the function of this one is to hold the auditory information, so anything that you hear. And according to this theory, it can be further subdivided, the phonological loop, into 2 more parts, the inner ear and the inner voice, if you like, the articulatory rehearsal component, the inner voice. So within this, the inner ear holds the sound in a passive way. So there's kind of no work being done within this. And the inner voice, which is kind of increasing in the duration of memory, can also turn visual speech information to sound. So, for example, when we were talking before about the words in the Glasner and Kunitz research, the people were subvocally re-saying the words in the first condition. So this is the similar idea that the inner voice is repeating but not speaking, if you like. So the inner voice then also of the phonological loop might change the modality of the way speech is perceived, or material is perceived, because it might be the case that the inner voice is kind of speaking from something that's heard, so it's changing the modality. And then there is the central executive function, which is responsible for the allocation of resources between the visuospatial sketchpad and the phonological loop. How much kind of thinking time, if you like, is spent on these or is taken by these. And then finally we come to the episodic buffer, which was added in a later model, a later version of this model. And the idea is that it integrates the information from the visual sketchpad and the phonological loop, and it links them to the long-term memory. So we're kind of taking this, what we're seeing and then what we're hearing, and it's kind of going inside us, and the episodic buffer is linking it together and kind of sending it to the long-term memory, if you like. So in a nutshell, that is how the model works. Now, within this model, we have there is quite a lot of support for this model, and also I think because it's the development of the first model, it's taken the limitations of that and built on them. So it's held in high prestige as well because of the development. So it provides an explanation for some of the phenomenon that the multi-store model of memory couldn't do. For example, the word length effect and articulatory suppression, which is how we change the auditory information perhaps into the inner voice, is explained in this, which it wasn't in the first instance. And there is the word length effect that Baddeley, Thompson, and Buchanan in 1975. They were looking at the capacity of the short-term memory in terms of longer words. So there's nothing within this model, the multi-store model, to explain why short-term memory, the capacity should change depending on the length of the words. So if we say like the standard capacity is 7 to 2 words, or 7 to kind of 2 units, well, why is it the case that, you know, if the word is longer, we remember less? There is no capacity in the multi-store model to explain that, but in this model there might be. The phonological similarity effect, which was discovered by Conrad and Hull in 1964, showed that the list of phonologically similar letters, such as B and D and P, we can hear them they sound the same. Are more difficult to remember than letters such as P, R, and X, presumably because the letters rhyme, and so that's harder for us to remember them. However, this effect also appeared when we saw it in writing as well. So this is something that the working model of memory doesn't account for. And as an evaluation of that, there are some strengths and limitations. So in the next video, I'll show you those strengths and limitations.